Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dylan Donaka here. We have another agent interview, journey into real estate interview with a longtime friend of mine, longtime agent that I've known, Kaila Voss. I'm super excited about this. She came over a little while ago. What has it been, Kaila? Like 6 months, 8 months?
A little over 6 months.
Yeah, and joined our team after we tried to get her for a very long time. And so we're going to talk about kind of that story and what she's doing now. She's a critical part of our team and how that all kind of came about. So we'll start with, Kaila, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, what led you into real estate.
Well, I was born and raised here on the Big Island, and after graduating high school, I think it's always a question whether or not you're going to stay here on island and just find a way to fit in here, or if you're going to leave for college. I chose to leave for college. Started in Oahu at Manoa, and finally transferred out to the mainland to a community college out in California, San Diego. After graduating college, I traveled for a bit and then decided that it was time to return home. My family's still here and it's hard being away. And after returning home, I think a big question is what you're gonna do to make your life here on the island. And different from the mainland, it's kind of limited in what it is you can do, not just to be successful, but just to make it here. So I started in food and beverage, which is a very common thing here with tourism. And I did that basically up until the 6 months ago that I moved to you guys. So.
But you got your real estate license prior to that. So what year were you licensed?
I got licensed in 2017. I was still bartending, serving tables full time. But it actually happened. I was talking to a few people that would come into the bars, and a lot of them are big name realtors in our town, in Kona. And they kind of just opened it up as a suggestion, like, oh, you should think about it. And of course I thought about it, and I thought, I'll just get my license, I'll try it out and see what happens. And I think for that from 2017 up until 6 months ago, I was just trying to do both and doing the part-time agent thing. And I was just trying to make it work that way, but
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I'm happy I finally listened and took the advice, and that I'm doing it, putting all my effort into this boat now.
Cool. So what did that transition look like? Because I know, we were at the same brokerage together previously before I came here. I've been here for like 3.5 years, but sometimes it takes, different factors and different people to make it all happen. So kind of how, and the door was always open, right? You were always welcome, but kind of what led to making the decision that it was the right time and that you wanted to do it?
Yeah, I talked about this at my last EXP event with Kelly, and I think ego is a big thing. I think especially in a business where you watch so many people succeed and you watch so many people struggle too. It's intimidating, especially at first. You get your license and there's so much expectation that comes with it, I think. And I think I put so much of it just on myself, and I thought, I'm gonna have to figure this out and make it work. And a big part of that, and a lot of people will find this, is financial. When you get your license, it's a big cost. A lot. It costs money to be a realtor, and I was trying to cover those costs, bartending and serving, and it was just kind of a loop, because if you're not focused on real estate full time, and I'm focused on the bar half the time and real estate half the time, I'm just bartending to pay for real estate, and I'm doing real estate to try to get out of the bar, and it was just very unproductive thing. So finally, I knew the door was always open with you and your team, and I fought it for a long time with ego. What I told Dylan was, I tried so long to not show that it wasn't working, as if nobody around me could see that it wasn't working. I was still at the bar 5 years later, and I'm thinking, one day people will just be like, oh, she's held on to that license for 7 to 10 years, so she must be fine. And just admitting it to myself, I think, was such a huge step, and kind of accepting the invite to the team. And it's just been the biggest life change I've had.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What is and just for more background, I always felt like you had a bright future, you had the potential to have a bright future. And so, I don't like actively seek too many people out, right? Like I don't actively, it's kind of like more law of attraction, right? The right people, if you do the right thing, the right people come, and sooner or later, maybe the timing's not right. And when the timing is right, people do come. And so that's always, we never try to hard sell you or like pressure you or anything like that. But it's funny because sometimes timing, not just for the person, but timing for us. And we'll talk about this next, kind of like what you do for us now. But there was a time when like that was a huge need, right? And we were talking about it, we were meeting about it, and we're trying to figure out what do we do with organizing like transaction management and being able to grow this operation and have a team that's going to handle that. And lo and behold, like you're actually not the person I had in mind for that, right? So that's what's funny about it, is sometimes you don't know who you need, or you don't know who the person is that you need, and they turn out to be that person. So anyway, so you join, and then we kind of have some initial conversations. But how does that go?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, like so you join and we have initial conversations, and how did it kind of, let's talk about kind of what you're doing for us now and how that came about.
Well, I have to tell the funny story, which was meeting Kelly, who's my sponsor, and now close friend and coworker. But we were camping one weekend, and she said, "Oh, I have my real estate license." And I said, "That's funny, like I do too." And she's like, "You do? Where do you work?" And I told her where I was working. She said, "Oh, that's where my broker used to work." And I said, "Oh my gosh, Dylan, I used to work with Dylan." She's like, "You should be on our team, and it's so awesome." And I'm like, "I know, I've heard it before." And I was explaining to her that my focus really at the time wasn't so much in sales, but that I love the paperwork end. And I talked about how I'd tried to become a TC with that last company, but that didn't work out. And sure enough, you guys had that opening, which was, like you said, the timing of everything was just perfect. And I guess for the call that we had, I jumped on with you and Kelly, and I talked about this at my EXP event too. I had a million reasons why I was going to stay where I was at, and a million reasons why EXP wasn't going to work for me. And I just remember every time I had something to say, you just had 5 reasons why that reason why not was not going to keep me where I was. I just remember being so blown away, and I walked out of the room after that interview, and I remember I told my partner, I said, "I can't believe the interview that I just had. Like, I feel like it's too good to be true." And I was kind of tripping out, but now here I am 6 months later, and everything's been true and even better than, it's only gotten better since that interview. So.
And that's what's funny, is I felt the same way, right? Like I get this, it's almost like on a weekly basis now when I talk to agents, they're like, "I don't think it can be that good, right? I don't think it can be different. It cannot be like that." And I even was of that mindset. Like I was willing to take the risk and chance it in the beginning, but like I didn't even tell anybody what I was doing the first year, because I wanted to make sure it was like for real and it wasn't a hoax, right? And so I totally relate to that, and I take that for granted now. I think we all take that for granted, that we don't share that enough with people, because we forget what it's like being on the other side, right? And once you're in it and you've moved on and you're accepted things, like it's like I forget what suffering in silence was like. And I think there's a lot of agents that do that.
But I do not forget. Yeah. And even Kelly, when she asked me to do the event, just to share for new agents, agent attraction, I was kind of surprised with myself how comfortable it felt for me, I guess, only being with EXP for 6 months to get up and just talk about it. But I think that, yeah, in real estate, I can't say how much longer I would have lasted where I was. And I don't think I could ever, even if I was lasting, I was just holding on to the ego, just paying the fees, just working at the bar. So I never would be here, which is, I'm so grateful.
So another, it's not really a funny story, but another example of something that was very enlightening to me was when we did our Level Up event, right? And we had everybody do DISC profiles. And this is something that I learned about, myself and a lot of the people on our team, and definitely about you, was that when we did the DISC profile, like you were like off the charts, like CNS, right? Like very strong support and detail oriented traits, which sometimes you can tell in people, sometimes you can like profile people and be like, that's the kind of person they are. But I definitely didn't have that profile of you. And it was very enlightening and now it makes a lot of sense on why you're so good at what you do, and how you figured all that stuff out, and why you like it so much is because you have that personality profile. And that's something that I think we don't do enough of also in the industry, is figure that out, because there's a way for everybody to succeed in the industry, but it's not the same for everybody, because different people have different traits and different strengths. And so that was I tell people that story all the time about how that disc is so important, because it's going to tell you, it's really going to show you what people's strengths are, and maybe you got to put them, fit them into the team and the operation in a place that they belong. So people know, in a very short amount of time, right? We kind of started Kaila off as helping us with transactions. We had some new lead generation programs that were generating a lot of new leads and a lot of new transactions. And I wanted a very stable, predictable system for not only our agents, but our clients, right? To have a predictable client experience once you get it under contract. And that has quickly grown into a team of 4+ transaction coordinators, which Kaila runs, and has just been an amazing addition and level up to our operation and what we do. And so what have you learned through that process? What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about the industry? I mean, because right, the way I operate is we jump off the cliff and build the plane, right? We don't have a solid plan. And I know for your personality type, that's not good, right? That's not something you jive with. Like, you want a solid plan and steps and a process and stuff. And sometimes we've been kind of figuring it out, but we definitely have, right? I'm super stoked at the way things have turned out. So what have you learned? I mean, what does that process felt like for you?
Well, I think the funny part of that disc story was afterwards at Level Up, during the meet and greet type thing, you told me, I didn't expect you to have, or your disc profile to look like that. And I said, you mean the unhealthy amount of C, is what I said. and you were being polite. You're like, it's not unhealthy. And I'm just like, it definitely is. Like, it should not just be all one thing. But I think what I've learned, and even with this TC team that I'm building, it's okay, especially on a team, because there's other people that maybe don't have any of that. And if we get together and we work together, but I guess. So it's like, yeah, we do need each other. And I think that the company I was with before, if every person's for themselves, they are strong in what they're strong at, and then they struggle in what they're not good at. And everybody has something they're not good at, and everybody has something they're strong at. And I think just coming together, especially building this TC team and seeing how fast it's grown and how successful it's been, just acknowledging strengths and weaknesses and not pretending that you can be good at everything has been, and learning, just being around people that are good at what I'm not good at is a way to get better at what I'm not good at. So
yeah, that's an overall flaw to me in the industry for a long time, has been the one man does everything or one woman does everything operation. And it's not only is it unhealthy for the individual, but it's definitely not good for the client, right? And that's something that that we're hyper focused on is the client experience, and making sure that the client has a good experience, because so many times they don't, and it gives us all a bad name in the industry. And a lot of that is a result of not individual agents being bad, but individual agents being bad at certain things, which that is what the client holds on to at the end of the transaction. Is you could do 9 things completely right the whole transaction, you do 1 wrong, and that's what people, that's the thing that people hang on to. And the only way to fill that gap and make sure that you don't do that one thing poorly is to have somebody new that does it really well, right? Fill in the gap. And that's definitely what you guys have done. So super stoked about that.
When I think about my last job at the restaurant, and I kind of equate it with real estate, when one person does the whole real estate job, it would almost be like one person running the restaurant, washing the dishes, making the drinks, cooking the food, serving the table, and it just doesn't work like that. And I don't know why, or it's amazing that real estate still tries to run like that when it doesn't.
Yeah. But when you don't know anything different, that's part of the issue, is when you see everybody around you does it that way, everybody's always done it that way, every broker you talk to has always done it that way. It's you don't know there's a better way sometimes. And
there are successful that way, but it's amazing because I imagine how successful they'd be
if they, right. And that's a very important point, is you limit yourself on your own personal time and energy, and you cannot scale beyond, you may be able to do 30 or 40 transactions a year by yourself, but you're never going to get to 300 if you're just working and relying upon your own personal time and effort, and that's all the resources you have available. So, but some people don't desire that either, right? I mean, that's another thing, is it depends on what your goals and your visions are. But to me, if you want the best quality of life possible, you want to do more in less time, and the only way to do that is to scale yourself and bring people into the team that's going to help you do that. So all right, so let's talk about, like, we've been talking about EXP, but what are some things, like, for you, like 2 or 3 things that you've discovered since coming over that have, like, just you want to share with people, you want to make sure people understand that you didn't know, that you wish you did know 3 years ago? What are those kind of big takeaways?
EXP specific?
Just system-wise, yeah, just system-wise, or the business model, whatever it is that you feel, somebody asks you, why do you like being on the team at EXP? What are the 2 or 3 things you would tell them?
I mean, I think the business model is a huge one, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't like to hear about initially. But after coming from the last company I was with, which is what most people are used to, it's really the exact opposite of what people paint this business model to be. They'll say things like, oh, well, of course you would promote it because you're going to make money if I join under you, or a pyramid scheme. They'll use words like that, but really it's set up so that we try to help each other. If I bring in somebody under me, I care about what happens and how they do. Where at the last place, it's like if everybody that joins with that company, regardless of how they do, that company just goes on. So
there's no agent to agent benefit, right?
Yeah.
The only person that makes money is the owner, the person at the top of the pyramid.
You keep working all the way up until your retirement, you're done. And I feel like with this model, you're kind of passing on knowledge and sharing knowledge. And I think beyond just the pay of bringing somebody on, like anytime I need help, I know I can call Kelly and she's going to help me, or I can call you and you're going to help me, and I can call you. I've already met in the last 6 months some big people up the chain. I know I could call them and ask for help too. And that's so different in itself, just the amount of support that business model has. So
you don't just have one broker to call, right? It hurts me when people are like, they have like only one person to call for help, and when they're not available, they don't get help. It's insane. Right? It's an insane way to do business.
And that's another thing, is the cloud brokerage. It's like the availability to just go in and ask a question online is one thing, but I think even just having everything accessible all the time, it's going to allow things to scale even at a different rate than it would having a team without that cloud brokerage. Like, I can go on and find any form. Access to everything is.
Well, and maybe talk about your lifestyle. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? You have a young daughter. Do you ever come into the office? How much work do you actually do? And like, what does that look like because of the cloud nature of our company?
My schedule is a little different probably than most realtors. My daughter is 18 months old. She's my real full-time job. And my schedule pretty much looks like waking up in the morning with her, getting her set up, and then checking to see if anything's urgent. And if it is, I can address it. And I can address it usually pretty quick because of the systems that are set up online and the team that we have. And then my real work starts when she goes to bed around 8:30, and I'll sit online from about 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. and knock out everything that needs to be knocked out. But just having everything available online has been so different. I only come into the office when I have the opportunity to, and I think
when you want to, not because you have to, right?
Yeah. Because I really want to. I really want to get out of the house once in a while. But I mean, my last, I mentioned it earlier, I tried to do TC work for the last brokerage I was with. And for them, that looked like taking away my sales license, paying me $18 an hour, and me having to sit in the office from 9 to 5 days a week. And for me, especially now having my daughter, that was never going to work. and here in Hawaii where everything's so expensive, and just looking at that opportunity and this opportunity that I have now next to each other, it's black and white. It couldn't be any different. And yeah, I have so much freedom with my time to spend with my daughter, and I can still do my sales and scaling. Like, I have an opportunity here that I would have never had with that last brokerage. So
I love it.
yeah.
All right, so we're getting short on time here. What are a couple of things maybe you would tell a new agent, looking for a brokerage, or somebody who maybe is not seeing the amount of success that they would like? What would you tell them? What kind of advice do you have?
Don't wait 5.5 years to switch. I wish I would have done this.
And that's a testament to your resilience, because most people don't make it, right? I mean, there's a stat like 80% of people fail within the first 2 years. So the fact that you held on for 5 years says something in and of itself.
And that's what I mean. I maybe could have held on another 5 years, but it would not have been a successful 5 years. It's just using the bar to pay for my license. And I know a lot of people will do that, and they'll try to do that, and they shouldn't. You shouldn't. Just find a team, find people that support you, and know that your time and your efforts are all worth it, but it's got to be in the right place, in the right situation, I guess.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. The people who want to help you will help you, right? I mean, that's the thing, is like, there are people who don't want to help, but if you don't ask, you don't find out who those people are and who those people aren't. So you gotta reach out. Totally.
Yeah, don't wait would be my advice.
Don't wait. All right, anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I just keep saying it, and I can't say it enough. I'm so thankful. And from that camping trip till now, that's only been 6 months, and it's been a life change, and I'm so thankful for this opportunity. I love it.
We're thankful for you. I mean, I tell you all the time, but everybody raves about the stuff that you do for the team, and how professional and on it and thorough you guys are. And I can tell you personally, I mean, we wouldn't be where we're at without you guys. So I am very much probably the most thankful person. So it goes both ways, but it's just the beginning, right? It's just the beginning. On to bigger things. How many transactions have you guys closed this year on the TC team? Do you know?
Since I started the team, the first team closing was only in the beginning of May. And since then, I think we've had 12 to 15. But since the start of the year, I'd say close to 100.
Yeah, we're tracking on, pretty much, 100 by last month. So it's a lot.
If I can squeeze in, you're so I think the way that you scale your sales team has inspired me to scale this also. And at first I was trying to do this on my own, and you're like, you got to get out of, it's a mindset trying to do everything on your own. And I understand that. And we have the systems to scale and the opportunity to grow. So I have big plans for it, and I'm excited.
1,000 transactions a year, right? All right, well, right on. I'm glad you signed up to do this. I know this is outside of your comfort zone, because you are a C and not a D or an I. But again, super thankful to have you, and thanks for taking the time. And again, you guys, reach out to Kaila if you have any questions. You don't have to reach out to me, right? If you know her and you're wondering more about this and want to ask questions, always available. We're here to reach out. We're here to help. So just reach out.
And I love to talk about it. So.
Right on. All right, thanks, Kaila.
Thanks, Dylan.